What you're looking at might just seem like some broken Grand Theft Auto gameplay, but this should not exist. What you are witnessing is Grand Theft Auto 3 on a PowerPC PowerMac G4. Mac users at this time never got this game. This might be an affront to whatever higher power you believe in or don't believe in, and it's a testament to man's hubris, a warning against vanity, the price of overreaching, and how the ego can bring us to do the stupidest of things. Also, while making this video, I discovered a tangentially related minor Mac mystery. But let's first focus on the main event. If you get this reference, we got the film right here. Grand Theft Auto does not exist on the Mac. Well, sort of. There was an official port back in 2010, but it no longer works in modern OS X. Then there's also the iPad Trilogy ports that you can play on Apple Silicon Macs. This is not the way to experience these games, and this is the most official way we have to play these games on the Mac. There are, of course, much less official ways to play it, such as using a PC copy with crossover for a much better experience. However, this does not account for a PowerPC version existing. For the non-vintage nerds watching this video, there are websites that archive old software which are exceptionally useful for retro computing, known as abandonware websites. Specifically for the Mac, the two main archive or abandonware sites are the Macintosh Repository and the Macintosh Garden. Both of these have extensive libraries of old Mac software. I was browsing the Macintosh Garden for a different video when I discovered something that I did not expect, which is obviously Grand Theft Auto 3 and Grand Theft Auto Vice City, two games that were never ported to PowerPC. The backstory took a little bit of digging, but a Mac Rumors forum member, Pakra, I hope I said that right, decided to make an unofficial port of Grand Theft Auto 3 using RE3. RE3 was an open source reverse engineered application designed to play Grand Theft Auto 3 but received a DMCA takedown. It included ports not only for Windows but also Mac OS and Linux. Unfortunately, Pakra no longer seems to be actively updating their port but managed to release some playable alphas for the PowerPC and early Intel Macs. When I first saw this, I just immediately downloaded it, no hesitation. It's just one of those things that's just so weird and pointless, and yet it's cool at the same time. There's also a port of Vice City as well. However, when I tried to play them on my G4, they would just crash. I noticed that 10.5 was recommended, so I updated to Leopard, and yet the game still crashed. I imagine most normal people would have moved on because there's much better ways to experience Grand Theft Auto 3. It took a bit of reading on the Mac Rumors forum, but GTA requires OpenGL 2.0 minimum. And of course, my Radeon 9000 Pro does not support that. This is where things get nerdy. The later generation of PowerMac G4s included the Apple Display Connector, aka ADC. For those who might not remember it, this is a DVI-like standard that carried USB and power on a single cable, meaning an Apple display only required a single cable. This implementation disregarded the Accelerated Graphics Port standard, better known as AGP. Apple changed this implementation of AGP again with the PowerMac G5s, thus the GPUs with ADC from a PowerMac G5 are not compatible with the PowerMac G4s. Pretty much the only graphics cards options on the table that supported OpenGL 2.0 were ones that were pulled from the PowerMac G5 or meant for a G5. People who know a hell of a lot more about such things have multiple solutions to this problem, like physically modifying the graphics cards or the dum-dum solution, which I'll be using. Blocking the fending pins with Scotch tape. I found a guide, except the photo bucket links were broken, but when I used the Wayback Machine, I was able to view the post. I ordered an ATI Radeon 9600 XT off eBay since the best options were really expensive. The trick is you need to block the 3rd and 11th pins on the GPU for an 8X AGP card with ADC to work in a PowerMac G4. That is as I understand it. I also discovered the plastic tab hook thingy was in the wrong place, preventing me from installing the cards, so this required surgery. While I did a solid job cutting the hook off cleanly, my shoddy work with the dulled box cutter didn't work. Also, something fun I learned is when an incompatible card is inserted into a PowerMac G4, it'll behave like it has died. The next day I tried again, this time armed with an X-Acto knife. I have to stress just how tedious this whole process is, so I apologize as I was less interested in filming than doing this right. I stuck the card in again, and this time it booted properly. Sure enough, OS X reported that I had a 128MB 9600 XT in my Power Mac G4. This time both GTA 3 and Vice City launched properly, and are playable in a very loose sense of that word. There's absolutely tons of graphical glitches. It's also basically running in slow-mo. In GTA 3, I went through the painful task of completing a couple missions, only to have a crash when I tried to save. Vice City for some reason seems slightly more playable, but it too will crash if you try and save. Also worth mentioning, neither game seemed to output audio. That all said, these ports really shouldn't exist, but I love that they do. It's best to think of these ports as a proof of concept as opposed to a functioning game. Grand Theft Auto 3 came out in 2002 for Windows, and this computer is from 2002 as well, so this is fairly period-appropriate hardware. Sure, it would have been nice if this game was more playable, but this is still just really interesting that someone took the time to make this. I really hope we see more projects like this in the future. I imagine for anyone with a G5, or especially with a better GPU, would have better luck, which brings me to another topic. A mystery I stumbled upon while trying to find the best GPU I could stick in my Power Mac G4. The Mutant GeForce 6600 GT. As far as I know, there was never an AGP version of this card released for the Mac. The once popular benchmark site Barefeets got their hands on a modified 6600 GT and benchmarked it, and it's fast. In the article, there's a link provided to how it was done, but it's a dead end. The forum that hosted the info required a login to view, so it's beyond the capabilities of the Wayback Machine. Sadly, the owner of Barefeets passed away, so I can't contact him for information either. So this is where I hope my audience can help me. I did find the Mac ROMs for the 6600 GT, so it seems like if you have an AGP PC, you could flash it to the PC version of this GPU using NV Flash. That might be all it takes to have the fastest GPU possible in a Power Mac G4 and only pay PC prices for one. This would certainly make Grand Theft Auto 3 a hell of a lot more playable because it ranges 2 to 4 times better frame rates than the 9600 XT that I just bought. I really want to get my hands on one of these cards, but I don't have an AGP PC, and there's a lack of information on what was done to make this run on a G4. It might be as simple as just flashing the card or flashing the card and covering certain offending pins, but if anyone has any info and is willing to lend a hand, I'd love to explore trying out the 6600 GT on my Power Mac G4. If I, or more likely one of the community members, make any discoveries or end up with a working 6600 GT, just check this video for a pinned comment, and if you'd like to get in touch with me, you can use the comments, reach me at my email, or go to Mac Rumors where I've created a thread about this. I don't use social media really, so that's the way to get in touch. Also, thanks to my paid Patreon members who help make this possible. Thanks for watching, and I think I'll finish my beer.